Now to a battle over Aboriginal sacred sites, and there's outrage in Western Australia that over 20 areas of land and water have been scrapped from the state's heritage register. Aboriginal communities are accusing the government of giving in to pressure from mining companies and developers. But the government is defending its track record and is pushing ahead with controversial reforms to the laws that protect the sites. Claire Moodie reports.
At Collie River in Western Australia's southwest, Joe Northover is greeting the serpent.
This is the resting site for the Ngākangarichwarago. This is where his spirit rests here. His head in the pool, this part, and his body lying down that way.
A Noongar man, he's considered to be a custodian of this spiritual place.
He's the one that created all the rivers and the creeks and all the waterways, because it's his spirit that dwells in there.
This is also coal mining country, and over the years Joe Northover has taken a stand against developments that he believes would have harmed the river.
This is where I opposed the mining several years ago.
The whole river, 150 kilometres of it, used to be protected under WA's Register of Aboriginal Sites. But last year, Joe Northover found out it was being scrapped from the list.
It knocked me for six. You know, I was really crook spiritually wise, and it was just a sad time.
Collie River's one of 22 sites that the WA government has confirmed have been removed from the state register over the past 4 years. Many have been removed under a new guideline that said sacred sites must be devoted to religious use rather than subject to mythological story, song or belief.
Whoever wrote that certainly is coming from a Christian religious viewpoint, in my opinion.
Clayton Lewis has set up a lobby group to fight the changes. A sacred site on his own traditional country has also been removed from the register.
It seems to me that there's a concerted effort to diminish Aboriginal cultural heritage protection in WA.
I believe that all government has failed Aboriginal people since colonisation.
With the WA government already facing a backlash over the possible closure of remote Aboriginal communities, Clayton Lewis has been pointing to a bigger agenda.
Big state out there in WA and plenty of mining business happening around the place. And if you don't have traditional owners on country, it's more or less open slather.
Archaeology student Liz Vaughan is one of the founders of the Heritage Action Alliance. Her soon-to-be-published thesis includes documents obtained under Freedom of Information showing pressure by mining companies to have sites delisted or not registered in the first place.
You've got a case where a site is registered, so it has legally been determined as being important under the Act. Then you've got mining companies lobbying the government, the Department of Aboriginal Affairs, for the removal of that site, and they've done it.
In April, traditional owners had a win over this deregistered site covering waters and creeks at Port Hedland in WA's Pilbara. The site had been delisted following an application to build new berths and dredge the harbour, but the Supreme Court quashed the decision.
It's a large body of water, but that doesn't mean you don't protect it and that you don't recognise its importance and significances to Aboriginal people.
The lawyer who represented the traditional owners, Greg McIntyre, also led the historic Mabo native title case. He says all other sites that have been deregistered under the same criteria should now be put back onto the register. The state government says it's reviewing the sites and it's defending its track record on Aboriginal heritage. Your critics say, though, that you're pandering to the mining industry. What's your response to that?
Well, that is not true. That is simply not true. You know, I have a deep personal regard for Aboriginal people, and I would never diminish the rights of Aboriginal people or consultation with Aboriginal people with regard to their heritage.
Shame! And it is shame! Shame!
Shame! But the dispute over sacred sites comes as the government pushes for sweeping changes to the laws set up to protect them, changes that have the backing of the mining industry.
Unfortunately, the whole cost of cultural heritage is sadly escalated over recent years to a point now where it's becoming unaffordable.
The industry supports the amendments to WA's Aboriginal Heritage Act. It wants an end to the existing system that it says mainly benefits consultants and lawyers and causes unnecessary delays.
A recent report by Department of Aboriginal Affairs has demonstrated the huge cost of Aboriginal heritage survey reports. Some $380,000 is spent on average, and only $42,000 of that is flowing directly to consultation with Aboriginal elders.
Under the proposed changes to the Act, penalties for damaging or destroying sites are increased. But the bill also gives most of the decision-making power to one senior bureaucrat at DAA, the Department of Aboriginal Affairs.
We are not trying to diminish Aboriginal heritage. We're not trying to alienate Aboriginal people. We're including Aboriginal people as we always have, but at the same time we're streamlining the process. We are refining and reforming a piece of legislation that is 40 years old.
But opponents say the changes are offensive because there's nothing in the legislation that guarantees consultation with Aboriginal people.
The Act at the very least should be sent to a parliamentary select committee where these issues can be worked out with experts.
Under pressure from industry on one side and Aboriginal communities on the other, the government says it's trying to be fair to both. Clayton Lewis says it must get the balance right if it's to restore faith.
You have this asset. Some people regard it as a commodity, some people think it's rubbish, depending who you speak to, but it's my culture and it's wider Aboriginal culture. So if it's held by the state and being disregarded and thrown in the bin, destroyed, well, I'll remove it from the state. And if it means challenging the state government and going to DAA and saying we want all of our intellectual property, we'll take them on.
Well, I hope they're not playing politics, because it should be above politics. The Department of Aboriginal Affairs is established and exists entirely for the benefit of Aboriginal people. That has not changed.
Back at Collie River, Joe Northover is yet to be convinced.
Where is there fairness and equality? There's two cultures in this country. The current government, I'm sad for.
Claire Moodie reporting from Perth.